Chill, let's get straight to the numbers because you know your girl LaSherika never pulls up without receipts. The Wall Street Journal dropped a poll that left the Democratic Party looking like last season's leftovers, cold, forgotten, and nobody trying to warm it up. President Trump's approval rating still sitting in the negative, but it's the Democrats catching the worst L in 3 decades of polling. Let me say that again for the ones in the back. 30 years, and the Dems never looked this bad. You talking about a flop? Baby, this is blockbuster level embarrassment. So what's the tea? 63%, almost 2 out of 3 voters, hold an unfavorable view of the Democrats. Not just meh or indifferent, flat out, we do not like y'all. Only a third of voters say they even feel favorably about the party, and out of that, just 8% got anything truly nice to say. That's like throwing a house party and only your little cousin shows up and even she texting her mama to pick her up early. Let's keep it real. When the party's own pollster is out here saying, our brand is so bad, we can't even critique Trump and the Republicans with a straight face, you know it's ugly. Anzalone called them out, said Democrats have lost touch with real voters, with working folks, with anybody who isn't already sold on their routine. And you know what? He's not lying. When the only thing you offer is vibes and Instagram posts, you can't be shocked when people are over you. But here's where it gets spicy. Even though folks are side-eyeing the Democrats heavy, they're still not breaking out the party hats for the Republicans either. Trump and the GOP are only a little less disliked. Negative favorabilities for both, but Democrats are losing harder and by a margin that would make anybody in business pack up shop and rethink their whole strategy. Now let's zoom in on why. The poll makes it clear. The economy, inflation, tariffs, foreign policy, all the big-ticket issues. Voters trust Republicans more to handle them in Congress. You read that right. Even though voters are frustrated with Trump's inflation and tariff policies, most people don't like how he's handling it. They still trust the Republican Party over Democrats to get the job done. On inflation, Republicans are trusted by 10 points more. On tariffs, by 7 points. Democrats can barely claim the win on healthcare and vaccine policy, and even then, it's by a slim margin. Sis, that's like showing up to a cookout with just a bag of chips and still expecting to run the grill. Everybody's seeing through the act. It's not about loving the Republicans. It's about the Democrats losing all credibility with the issues that matter most to real folks. The numbers don't lie, but the politicians keep spinning. And the most hilarious part, after all this, voters still said if an election was held today, they'd back a Democrat for Congress by 3 points over a Republican, 46% to 43%. But even that is slipping. Back in 2017, Democrats were up by 8 points 6 months into Trump's first term. Now it's down to 3. The party might be technically ahead, but the momentum is slipping away fast. It's giving we'll take anybody but y'all energy. Let's break it down. 1,500 registered voters polled by landline and cell phone from July 16th to 20th, margin of error plus or minus 2.5 points. In other words, these numbers aren't shaky. They're the real deal. You know what else is real? The Democrats struggle to connect with Black Americans, working people, young voters, anybody outside their coastal donor base. People don't want lectures, they want results. And let's talk about economic trust. Even when voters are critical of Trump's economy and inflation record, they still don't see the Democrats as the answer. That's not just about policy, that's about reputation. Folks remember all the promises, all the "this time will be different" speeches. But when you keep giving tax breaks to billionaires, co-signing on gentrification, and calling diversity a couple of hashtags and a new emoji, the streets will get tired of you real quick. Let's keep it all the way funky. These numbers didn't pop up overnight. This is years in the making, baby. Democrats have been so busy chasing vibes and viral moments that they forgot how to actually govern for the everyday person. You want Black Americans to show up at the polls? Try showing up in the community when it's not election season. Try passing policy that puts money in folks' pockets, food in the fridge, and justice in the courtroom. But nah, every 2 years, here come the shaming tactics. If you don't vote for us, you're letting your ancestors down. If you don't turn out, the other side will destroy everything. Sis, that playbook expired the minute folks got Wi-Fi and started comparing notes. We see who's getting the contracts, who's writing the bills, who's collecting the donations. And it ain't us. The numbers say it all. The Democratic brand is so weak that voters don't even believe their critiques of Trump or the GOP anymore. That's a whole new level of irrelevance. Let's talk about this economic message. Democrats keep running to TV talking about working people, but can't name a single policy that actually helps working people. You've got a pandemic, sky-high rent, rent, food prices wilding out, and you're still stuck on culture war slogans, no wonder folks are tuning out. The pollsters are right. Until the party reconnects with real voters on the economy, they're going to keep getting clowned by voters, by pundits, and even by their own donors behind closed doors. And let's not play like the Republicans are winning because they're beloved. Please, the GOP is about as charming as a root canal, but when folks have to pick between a party that ignores them and a party that talks down to them, a lot of people just check out or roll with whoever is the least fake. And that, fam, is the secret sauce in this poll. People don't feel seen by either party, but they're especially tired of the Dems acting like their mess doesn't stink. Now, what does this mean for Black Americans? It means we gotta stop letting these folks treat us like a guaranteed paycheck. We're not the party's security blanket, and we're not here to prop up poll numbers. When the Democrats are at their lowest point in 3 decades, they don't pivot to us with real policy. They pivot with more symbolism and guilt trips. Look, we've got a new diversity initiative. Cool, but who's getting the contracts? Who's getting the funding? Who's seeing real change in their neighborhood? The party claims to care about healthcare, but let's be honest, healthcare costs are still wild. Black maternal mortality is a crisis, and hospitals in our communities keep closing. Democrats talk about criminal justice, but the same cities with the worst policing problems are run by so-called progressives. They'll scream about protecting democracy, but somehow never find time to deliver real economic justice to the people who show up for them every cycle. And that's why you see the numbers tanking. When you've got people struggling, they want more than a TikTok challenge or a celebrity endorsement. They want jobs that pay the rent, schools that teach the truth, and a government that actually listens. The poll makes it plain. You can't guilt trip folks into the voting booth forever. Eventually, you gotta show up with receipts. Let's not ignore another layer here. The Democrats' weakness on the economy is exactly why Trump's numbers stay stable. Even with all the scandals, the gaffes, the drama, folks still remember when the stimulus checks came, when the unemployment was low, when the gas prices dipped. Now, I'm not saying Trump is the answer, but people remember when things were at least moving. If you're struggling now and all you get from the Dems is lectures about democracy, the connection is gone. Voters are clear. They don't trust Democrats to fix inflation, to manage tariffs, or to steady the ship. Healthcare and vaccine policy? Sure, Dems have a slim lead, but it's not enough to offset all the other losses. The story here is trust, and the party isn't earning it. You can't buy trust with hashtags. You gotta deliver, especially to Black Americans who have been the backbone for generations. Here's what nobody on cable news wants to say. Democrats keep losing trust because they talk at Black Americans, not with us. Every cycle, they roll out a new listening tour, pull up to a church fish fry, or hold a round table with hand-picked leaders who couldn't fill a living room with real grassroots voices if their life depended on it. They chase the Black vote, but they never want to chase Black demands. Baby, we see the difference. Don't tell us you care. Show us you do. Let's break down how the shaming tactics and empty gestures backfire. When the party needs a surge, they start dropping reminders about the civil rights movement, about what your ancestors fought for, about how democracy is on the line. But notice, those reminders only show up when turnout is low or the poll numbers look scary. Where are the Democrats when it's time to cut the check? Where are they when it's time to reform police unions, stop school closures, or actually address Black unemployment? Most of the time, they're somewhere between a fundraiser and a cable news green room, hoping nobody asks hard questions. Look at this recent poll again. The party's own pollster admits the Democrats don't have the credibility to be a critic of Trump or the Republican Party. That's a direct quote. When your own people are saying you've lost the plot, it's time to wake up. But instead, the party double downs on more guilt trips, more symbolic firsts, and more empty rhetoric. That's not leadership, that's spin. The reality is, Black voters are more politically sophisticated than ever. We know when we're being handled. We know when the soul of the nation talk is just a distraction from the real deal. Jobs, contracts, reparations, school funding, land. This is why so many Black folks are tuning out or looking for alternatives. The poll numbers don't just reflect Democratic failures, they reflect a grassroots awakening. People are tired of being the reliable base with nothing to show but selfies with candidates and a couple of platitudes on social media. And don't get me started on the way the party weaponizes fear. It's always, if you don't vote for us, look what might happen. But look at what's already happened under their watch. Rising costs, stagnant wages, and every major city fighting gentrification that pushes Black families further out. Vote blue no matter who is dead. Now it's, show us the receipts or don't bother knocking. Democrats love to talk about representation, but let's keep it 100. Representation with no resources is just window dressing. Having a black face in high places doesn't matter if policies don't shift. The GOP may be blatant with their policies, but at least you know what you're getting. Democrats promise the world and then act brand new when you ask for the invoice. That's why you're seeing the block, the barbershop, the beauty salon, and Black Twitter roasting both parties now. Folks remember when a political party actually tried to win your respect, not just your vote. They remember when you could go to City Hall and actually get an answer, not a committee to study your pain for another 5 years. But you know what's wild? Even with all this, the poll says some voters still plan to back a Democrat over a Republican. Why? Because for so many, it feels like the lesser of two evils, not a real choice. The party takes that 3-point edge and acts like they got a mandate, but in reality, it's just fatigue and frustration. That edge could disappear any day, and if it does, don't say LaSherika didn't warn you. Now, what would it actually look like if the party cared? You'd see a plan for Black home ownership, business funding, and reparations. You'd see schools getting real investments, not more budget cuts. You'd see the party standing up to police unions, not cozying up for endorsements. You'd see contracts going to local Black businesses instead of outside developers and donors' cousins. Until that happens, the numbers will keep sinking and the party will keep scrambling, asking what went wrong when the answer's been staring them in the face for years. So here's the bottom line, family. When you look at the poll numbers, when you look at the vibe on the street, you see the same message. Black Americans are tired of being the Democratic Party's last-minute priority and first excuse. The party talks a big game about saving democracy, but democracy doesn't mean much if your light's about to get cut off, your job prospects are shrinking, and the politicians you voted for keep running the same hustle. The Democrats want to call on us when it's time to save the country, but when do they save our neighborhoods? When do they save our schools, our healthcare, our small businesses? The answer most of the time is never. It's always, we'll get to that, now's not the time, or let's form another commission. Baby, commissions don't keep the lights on. Commissions don't put groceries on the table. Let's be real. If the party really wanted to win back trust, they'd start by owning up to their own failures. They'd stop sending the same consultants and celebrities to tell us how to vote and start investing in actual Black grassroots leaders. They'd stop hiding behind buzzwords and actually talk about cash, contracts, and control. And they'd stop shaming us for asking for more than symbolism. Newsflash, we're not greedy, we're just tired of being played. The streets remember. Black voters know when it's just talk. We remember Katrina, we remember the housing crisis, we remember every promise that got buried under another election cycle. When you show up every 2 years to beg for our votes but can't show up in between to deliver, you're not a friend. You're just another politician passing through. Here's what's really wild. The party's own pollster called them out. When your brand is so bad you can't even critique Trump and the GOP with credibility, it's not time to double down on guilt. It's time to wake up. The numbers don't lie, but politicians sure do. That's why folks are turning to new voices, independent media, and real grassroots movements. The establishment ain't cutting it, and the numbers prove it. And let's not get it twisted. Black Americans will always do what we have to do. We're survivors, innovators, and leaders. But we're not here to be guilt-tripped or shamed into showing up for a party that won't show up for us. The days of blind loyalty are over. It's time for the Democrats to prove themselves, not just count on our pain to win the next cycle. If you want Black voters to show up, you better show out. Deliver resources, not rhetoric. Change laws, not hashtags. Put our communities first, not last. We don't need another promise. We need receipts. And if that sounds blunt, good, because the only thing Black Americans are interested in now is the truth. The era of giving passes is done. We want results, we want respect, and we want it in writing. Anything less is just another hustle. So as this election season heats up and the guilt trips start flying, remember, we see through it all. We know our power and we know our worth. The poll numbers, they're not just numbers, they're a warning. Step up or step aside because Black America is moving on. That's it from LaSherika. Stay sharp, keep your receipts, and don't let anybody talk you out of what you've earned. The block is watching, and we don't do second chances for free.